Night, man, this afternoon, rather. I'm so excited. I'm your host, D. Ray. And what men want to see in a woman, what men want in their woman, and things that turn us off that women do. And so we're really going to get into some stuff. And, you know, when I brought this topic to the table and I reached out to these awesome three young men on the panel with me, all of them were very excited about being a part of what we're doing. Listen, we are about real relationships, real issues, but real solutions. That's what the Perfect Blend radio broadcast is all about. And obviously, this is the podcast. We do a radio program as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get going, I'm going to start to my right, and I want this young man to introduce himself, and then we're going to go to the far end, have my dear friend introduce himself and what he does, and then we're going to go to this gentleman here. So, all right, sir.
Well, I am Miles Harris. I go by Miles the Millennial. I'm a motivational speaker and best-selling author, born and raised in Houston, Texas. And, you know, my big mindset is change your mind, change your life. And I'm really here to help pour into the mindset of everybody listening today and give some healthy conversation.
All right. Way down on the end there, sir.
Hey, what's up? I'm Coach Leotis, Transformation Hightower. I help men in relationships. I'm also helping with mindset as well as business startup, and I'm also an author, podcaster, and husband and father.
And it's my turn. So, hey, everybody, I am Mac Hyles. I am a psychotherapist. I specialize in working with men and women. I help people with addiction, trauma, and also marriages. So, yeah, man, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Again, like I said, we're going to talk about and I actually told them 5 things that a man wants in a woman, 5 things that they want in their woman, or want to see in a woman first, and 5 things they want in their woman, and then 5 things that actually turn us off that women do. And again, this is no attack against women. Yeah. This is simply us as men being vulnerable, telling you what we want, because again, I think there is a gap between what. And this is a general statement, ladies, so don't get offended, from what women think we want and what we really want. You know, yeah, the BBL, yeah, we'll do some stuff at night with that, yeah, all day long, and it ain't playing basketball. So, but we're not taking that home with us. You know, the big eyelashes, all the extra makeup, and all those things. That's not what we're looking for. That's not what we want, yeah. Especially. The Bible says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So if we're really looking for somebody to be a wife, there are just certain qualities that we as men, and again, what I love about this panel is because each one of us is going to say something different of the 5 things that we want. So I want to make sure that whoever's watching, and if you're just tuning in, let somebody know that we're on. Again, if you're watching, so you may hear a couple of things the same, but my belief is that it's going to be some things different. Why is that? Because each man wants something different from a female or from his woman, or what he wants to see in a woman. With that being said, let's get it on.
Let's go, man.
All right, let's talk about the 5 things that we want to see in a woman. What is it that you want to see in a woman? Who wants to start first?
Man, I think I'll go first on this one. So one of the ones, do you want me to name all 5 or just?
No, let's go down. We're going to go each one, name the first one, and go down, and then we come back and talk about it. So that way, okay. Whatever you say, if Coach Hightower or Big Mac one, I call him Big Mac, guys, not because he's little, because he big. So that's my term of endearment for the brother I love with my whole heart. So let's do it that way.
So the word that I would say that describes one of the things that I really want in a woman is drive. I want her to be somebody that's purposeful.
Okay, let's talk about that. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, so drive looks like having some business of your own. So I've always had a big thing about people that are sappers, right? People that are drainers. So when it comes to me being a man who's very driven, very passionate, has a lot of purposeful things that I'm doing, I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish in my life. If I'm with a woman that is draining me, that puts a deterrent on my ability to perform at a high level, in a limit to how far I can go. And typically what you see is when people have no business of their own, they want to be all up in yours, right? And they want to take from yours. And they want to say that all this time that you're spending towards your thing that you're trying to build, you could be spending it with me. And that's a conversation that you don't want to have, because then you're deciding between the person you love and the thing that you're sent here to do. And that's always going to come in conflict. But when you find a woman that has purpose and drive, she has things that she wants to accomplish for herself. She knows how important time is. She knows how important it is to accomplish the things in your life that you have great desires for. So whenever I'm busy at work on my things, she got something else that she can pick up and do and be busy on her things. And we make time and intentionality for us to be able to spend time with each other. But if I'm with somebody that has no drive and has no purpose, my purpose, my drive, all of that is always going to come in conflict because it's not comfortable for her to be around.
That's awesome. And you know, there's a quote that I often quote by the late, great Kathy Lynn Ray. She's gone on to be with the Lord now. She said, true success can only be measured against purpose. And so if you don't have a woman in your life, Miles, let me say this about this young man. This young man, him and his partner, I think you should say something about your program.
I will.
When I say partner, I'm not talking about
My romantic partner.
there we go. Come on, we need to make sure.
Yeah.
Business partner.
They were like, Pastor, are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. We just have to make sure because somebody might be winking at
My
Miles.
business partner.
And we ain't trying to, right. But, man, when I tell you, and my dear friend, Mac, what you laughing at, Mac? What I say, Mac? I don't know what I still say, Mac. And that gentleman down to my far left who I love, man, that's my boy. He introduced me to Miles and Rex. And when I tell you these men are beyond their years in wisdom and understanding and in depth, yeah, that's an understatement. So thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
So success can only be measured against purpose. Is that a true statement? Yes or no?
I agree.
So when you have that woman in your life who's driven, she's driven understanding what her purpose is, understanding what her role in her lane is, that's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, man? I like that one, man. So for me, man, for mine, so I'm going to give one that's kind of similar to yours. For me, she has to be competent. Like, she got to be competent. That's part of my number one thing I look for in a woman is competence.
That's good.
Yeah.
And how does that look to you, sir? What you?
So for me, man, I look at marriage. So I'm looking at marriage first, right? And so again, I'm looking at from the position that she's able to help when I cannot do. I'm able to kind of relax when I can't, or if things are going bad or things are going hard. I know in my heart that she can carry the load for a season, for a moment in time. I can be assured that I don't have to worry about things breaking down. I'm able to trust her to make decisions even if I'm not there. It's not about leadership or anything like that, but like, I trust you to be my half, right?
That's good.
And so then, therefore, you got to be equal to me on some levels. So competence is one of the big things that I love in a woman. Because if she's not competent, I don't think that I can even trust her. Competence comes with trust, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
if I don't trust her, then she's no good to me.
And that's real talk. That's real talk. You know, I never looked at it that way, Big Mac. Thank you, man, because that is, and it's, there's a difference between being competent and being bossy, and we're gonna talk about we're gonna get into some stuff tonight. All right, HT, that's my term of endearment for that brother, HT.
Hey, what's up? What's up? For me, it's a God-fearing woman.
Yeah.
A God-fearing woman, and when God leads her, love flows through her.
All right, how does that look to you, sir? Come on, let's define it, because you
What
don't
that
know.
looks like to me, man, that's looking at her actions.
All right.
So, a woman that's following God is going to shape, what she looks like. It's going to describe how she's flowing. She's going to be the nurturer. She's going to be in her feminine energy, which is one of the things that's on my list. But overall, it's that God-fearing woman.
You know what, man? Lately, as I've been getting closer to God, I've been noticing that one of the things that I want or I admire is that energy that a godly woman have. There's like, I don't know, man, there's something about I guess nurturing, maybe peace, easiness, agreeability. I don't know about it, but there's something for it. I don't know what it is, but I want that exact same thing, or I'm starting more to like appreciate it.
Right, and you man, I'm honestly, as we grow older, I think not only do we see life from a different perspective, because as you grow towards the time to leave this earth, certain things that used to matter don't matter anymore because they're so frivolous and they have no depth to them. Yeah. And so now you start processing life through a whole different lens. When my wife passed, I believe that was one of the most transitional times in my life because I saw how short life was. I was married to her for 25 years. I thought I was going to be married for the next 50 years, but when she passed, the reality of death and the end of life hit me so, like, I was not afraid, but I said, you know what? Let me be very purposeful, as if I wasn't already. Let me be more purposeful about the way I live my life. And Hightower, you said something, and I wrote this down. Our actions define who we are to the world. Yeah. Our actions. So they can say anything they want to about us, like black men are not good fathers. Yeah. Black men don't know how to take care of this, that, and the other. Our actions actually will refute and define, or either agree with, and what's that term? That when
verify.
Thank you. Verify to the validate. That's the word I was looking. Validate to the world what they say we are. I was working with a young white guy when I first started working for the state of Michigan, and he was from the little rural area. Some little rural area that was named after somebody, the area, mm-hmm. But anyway, after working with me for a few, Mike, you're gonna be laughing all day. After working with me for a little while, the guy said, you black, he said black. Okay, that's good. I got you because I know where you're from. He said, but you blacks are not what we were taught y'all were. Mm-hmm. So my actions defied or went against what he was taught. And him and I became best of friends, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what that looks like in relationships is when people haven't seen healthy, and this is kind of a conversation we were already having, I'm sure we'll dive into it deeper, but when people haven't seen healthy, and let's say in this circumstance a woman hasn't seen a high-functioning, healthy man that really has a purpose and a spirit of God behind him, it can seem foreign. And so she has all these concepts about what a man is and what a man isn't. But when she comes across a man that actually is on his P's and Q's, we redefine that.
Right,
like you said, our actions can break down barriers and misconceptions that this person has made up in their mind that all men are like, versus based on their trauma or whatever it is that they've went through. So,
Maya Angelou made a statement that we actually take in the negative. She said this: when people show you who they are, believe them. Mm. We actually took that to the negative side.
Yeah.
But if a man shows you he's quality, believe him.
That's good.
Right. The other thing is, think about this. The average man that's about himself, he won't tolerate just any type of stuff going on around or in his life.
Yes.
And so what you just said, Miles, is so true, because I know several females who have told me that they have never really dated and I don't even want to use the term high quality man, but a man of purpose.
Yes.
And it's really, and they say it's hard for them. They say there's not a lot of good men out here, but I beg to differ. 55% of men have educated themselves to some degree on the college level, collegiate level. So, and then these men are actually pursuing. And just like Hightower and I, we did a radio broadcast when I first started broadcasting, and he brought an interesting point. He said, every black male I know in my life is an excellent father and husband. Did you not remember we said that, sir?
Yes, and I can say that, and I think Mac we can contest that with us doing our summits and our workshops where we bring men together and we talk about things. Matter of fact, we had the pleasure of doing a Master in Manhood conference here in Houston, here at Impact Church, and we had over 50 leaders from around the country that came here.
Yeah, that's true.
Those 50 leaders that came here, most of them were single parents. And when we say there's not a lot of good men out there, we can tell you most of the men that's in our circle, they're all about taking care of their family. They're all about taking care of their kids. Yeah. So I tell women, you'd be surprised, this vast amount of men that's stepping up to the plate. It just depends on where you may find these men. These men are usually not out in public. They're grinding. They're working. They're behind the scenes. So you're not just going to find these typical men. Like, for example, Mac and I don't go out. So I go out, you may find me at BJ's or someplace like that, but I'm really not out because I'm constantly moving and grinding.
One thing I did, I took. What did you say, Walmart?
I tell them you're looking for a hard-working man. I tell them instead of going to brunch on Saturdays, go to Home Depot and Lowe's.
Well, you could Walmart.
Find you a
Walmart. But I mean, I took. I found this spot, man. This good dinner jazz spot. I said, AC, I'm going to take you out. Him and I went out. I said, brace yourself. I'm not going to tell him what I said. It's not nasty. But I said, brace yourself. And man, when I saw the look on his face, I could tell you, he don't get out much. But again, no, I said, that's not negative. It's just the man has valued his time.
Absolutely.
I said something about Hightower, and I said this about y'all. I don't think I've said this in the hearing of your ear. I said it's hard for somebody to compete against you, Rex, and matter of fact, I did fits for Big Mac too, because y'all are self-sharpening. You're constantly sharpening yourself, so you come in contact with, and you can articulate with pretty much anybody you come in contact with, because you are not just an educated black man, but you are informed and you're sharpened. And I have these self-sharpening knives that every time I put that knife in that holster, it sharpens itself. Yeah. So I don't have to do this. Why is that? Because that knife sharpens itself. And when you have people who take the time to pour into yourself, because we're our number one investment, you take time to pour into yourself, you get to that status of a high quality man. So,
hey, can we talk about what is a high quality man?
No.
Why not?
Go ahead.
He just.
No, I know.
Okay, write that down, because I need to say what my number one quality is. Can I say what my number quality? My number one quality in a female is being feminine. Femininity, yeah.
I like feminine energy, but I think that's one of those things where it's just a non-negotiable for me. It just got to be.
Right, and we'll talk about, because one of the opposite of that, and we're going to talk about the turnoffs. The opposite turnoff for me is masculinity, a masculine woman. Yeah. You know, and then like you said, somebody bucked up against you, but we're not going to tell that story yet. So let's go back. Man, she just did what she do, Mike? Did she buck up? No, anyway, so
bless her heart.
Yeah, bless her heart. Okay. Mike, let's talk about what was that you said?
So what is a quality man? Like, we hear high value all the time, right? And I don't really like that term too much, but what is a quality man? And I just want to know from your perspective, like, what's a quality man?
Let me say something about what you just said. The reason why I don't like to use high quality, because the Bible says a man's life consists not of the abundance of things which he possesses. So it's not an external possession that makes you high quality. It's really how you carry yourself. Do you know your purpose? Yeah. Are you, as Hightower said, are you on your square? A man that's on his square. I don't need a woman to complete me. I need a woman to enhance what God has given me.
I agree with that.
So when you start talking about that, okay, guys, go ahead.
That's good. I mean, that's a very good basis right there. I think that lays the foundation, because when I think about it and I talk to women and they're telling me stuff, because my girlfriend and all her homegirls all look at me as like pops or something. So they're always coming to me with their advice on things that are going on.
And they're your same age, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So they'll tell me these different things, and I tell them the same thing all the time. I'm like, y'all keep going after dudes that talk a good game, but their actions don't follow suit. And I think that's the difference between a boy and a man, right? A boy wants a whole lot of things, but one, doesn't know how to get them. Two, is always dependent on somebody else to do it for him. And three, can't make his mind up, right? A man knows what he wants, and he doesn't need the whole world. He knows the things that matter to him. Like, okay, I know I value my friends. I know I value my woman. I know I value my family. Those are my priorities. All the rest of these things, anything outside of that does not enhance these areas, cannot exist in my world, because it's going to come at a detriment to those things, and those are non-negotiables. So you got to know what you want. You got to know how to achieve it. So it's like, okay, well, me being on my purpose, me making sure I spend quality time with these people, me making sure that I'm having meaningful conversations, enhancing myself and my knowledge. And then the last thing is knowing who you are and whose you are.
Wow. That's
knowing
powerful.
what you want, right? Like, nothing is more, as a man, nothing is more unattractive about another man than a dude that can't make his mind up.
Right.
Bro,
indecisive.
What you want? Do you want this girl or do you not? I tell my homeboys that all the time that aren't ready yet. I tell them the same thing all the time. What do you want?
Well, let me ask you something, Miles. Do your homeboys, are they aware of what their purpose is?
No. Yeah. Most of them aren't. And I think that's a lot to do with it, man. Because until you know your purpose, it's kind of like going on a journey, right? You know you got to get to some destination, but you don't know where the destination is. How do you know if you got to get to your grandma's house, but you don't know the address? You can drive around town all the time. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're moving properly. Doesn't mean you're moving towards the right thing.
In the right direction. So yeah, and with purpose, there's several things that purpose does. Obviously, it defines you. And if you have your definition of yourself, then you operate within that definition of yourself.
Yeah.
And true purpose attracts the right people and the right resources.
That's
And also is going to attack. It's going to attract attack. And true purpose actually gives you a buoyancy to bounce back from circumstances and situations, and it also gives you a stick-to-itiveness that I'm going to stick to this. Did you notice? If you really study the Bible, every person that died either aborted their purpose or came to the end of their purpose, and they were no longer necessary in the earth. That was deep.
That's real.
Yeah, it is. And I can say just from coaching men, 50% of men don't know their purpose.
Yeah.
And those who do know their purpose, they're going on it. However, sometimes men get stuck. I ain't gonna say it's a midlife crisis, but they may have a career change. And once they get that the career change or they retire, they're still uncertain how to move.
Yeah.
I'm talking to men right now that's transitioning. And with them transitioning from retirement, going into retirement, they're not for sure how to operate, how to move. And that goes back to you constantly, and I want to acknowledge you. Thank you very much, Pastor Ray, in regards to talking about how we're always self-sharpening. Every day I try to be the best version of myself every day. I'm working on something new every day, whether it's finances, whether it's on my health and wellness, whether it's how I'm effective communicating, how I'm treating my wife. There's always something that needs to be done. And I tell men, we really don't have time to sit around and just watch sports all day. However, if you made it to that point and that's what you want to do, you can. But once again, there's always something that can be fixed on and can be articulated, that can be just fine-tuned. So when a man is on his purpose, you're constantly looking for ways to get that edge.
That's good.
And if he is on his purpose, he picks women differently.
Yes.
Absolutely. He actually looks at women differently.
Way differently.
Yeah, he picks and looks at them differently
Way
too.
differently. It's like, okay, what value does she bring? Not in the sense like you hear guys, with that whole this thing right now, what is your value or what do you bring to the table type thing, but rather, how do you make my life better? How am I able to build the future with you?
Yeah.
Like, what qualities do you have to be a mother? Yeah. Would you be a good mother? Would you be a good wife? Do I see legacy in this woman if I'm on my purpose? So it's a different way of seeing women when you own your purpose.
And that's a great question, man. Most men that I coach and talk to really are not sure how to analyze a woman.
Yeah.
How to analyze a relationship.
Yeah.
Those questions you stated are very keen questions that we should be asking, but most times men just see what they see and they're focused on the bullseye and they don't even look at the other things. And before you know it, they're caught up and now you're in a relationship and you didn't ask none of these questions.
Right.
Yeah, now she's pregnant.
I want to say something.
With 2 kids.
Gonna be,
Y'all didn't hear what Big Mac said. He whispered.
he said something. So,
Did you hear it?
I didn't even catch it.
He whispered.
I said, now she's pregnant because you made a choice.
Yeah, he made it.
That's the truth.
Whew, boy, I knew this was
Man.
going to be good. Go ahead, Miles.
It's something that you guys are hitting on, and I witnessed this recently. I'm not gonna speak on who it is because I know she don't want me telling her business. But she's a God-fearing woman, would be a great partner to any man that's on his purpose. And she just went through a state of a very confusion dating scene where it's like, dude she was talking to, things are going great. He's being intentional, nice guy, all these things, getting right with God. All this sounds great. Then all of a sudden, he's not ready, right? Life got hard on him, and he not ready no more. And this is probably something that all the lady listeners that are listening to this, they're probably sitting here saying they've been through this scenario one too many times. Man that ain't ready, right? And you guys are so right when I think about it, because the root of all of it, he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life.
Right.
And it's tough because you want to, of course, hopefully the man is at a state where he realizes, okay, this is a woman that can help you figure that out and not run away from a good thing. But ultimately, if that man does not know his purpose, everything else in his life is in confusion too.
No.
That's the core of everything. And, I'm going to have that conversation with her when we leave from here. Because she was asking, I don't know what I need to be looking for in these men. I've gone to God about all this different stuff. And I thought about it this way. It says, right, before Adam got Eve, he had a job. Right? And when I mean a job, I'm not talking about an occupation. I'm talking about a purpose. right? God told him what he was supposed to do in naming the animals and the dominion that he had.
Max said he had a good job.
He had a good job.
Not just a job.
A job. He had a good job.
Adam had a good job.
But it's real though. Like before he gave him a helpmate, right?
Right.
Before that happened, he had to have something that she could help him on.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a crucial thing that the ladies, when you're going through this, we talking about what is a high quality man. I think the number one thing is you got to ask that question. What's your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is?
Right.
Because if he doesn't, I'm telling you, all that leads to is more and more confusion. True.
And you know what? The first question we've been taught, the women have been taught, and people have been taught to ask that person is about your financial, your credit, and all this other stuff, which is important. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know where you're going, you could be the richest man on the face of the earth and not doing anything, you know. So,
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I did not see this one coming on purpose, but thank you, Big Mac. When you open up that one, shall we continue?
But can I chime in on what Brother Miles just stated?
Yes, sir.
About the purpose. The purpose plays a major factor. And when that woman is chosen, that man, she got to actually ask herself, can she support this man in his purpose?
Fit it. Yes.
Right.
And I say that because you look at the greats, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. When you look at the sacrifice that he made to stay on his purpose.
Yeah.
This guy was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym 2 and 3 hours, coming back home for probably about 30 minutes to an hour. To only go back to the gym, but his purpose was playing basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to have a strong woman when you looking at that in regards to she's taking a back seat.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at some of our greats such as Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. When you look at the women was very supported behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it takes a strong woman to carry that man with that purpose. But she has to be honest with herself. Can I really help this man with his purpose? Do I really want to follow him doing this? If not, it's not going to work.
That's good.
And you know, one of the things we're going to talk about it, and we want to actually talk about our definition of what a strong woman is.
Yeah.
And then obviously, you know, excuse me, because I've had conversations with women, and I've had conversations with people, and it's interesting how we think what the opposite sex want. What we need to do is sit down with them and ask them, what is that you're looking for? What type of man are you looking for? What's your definition of a strong man? And then let us not sit around in a circle as men and define what we think a woman wants. Let's find out what she really wants. Let's find out what she really needs.
That's good.
And then that way we can be very successful. This information in this podcast and in my broadcast that we have, we are really concerned about real relationships with real issues. But y'all know what my bottom line is what? Real solutions.
Solutions.
Let's talk about solutions.
Yep.
Because we can always just throw at the problem. Do you have another question, Big Mac? All right. Let's go to our second one. What's your second thing that you want to see in a woman?
So there's a few. So one I wanted to hit on before I go to the next one.
Help yourself, sir.
That teammate is really what Mac was talking about in his first thing when he was talking about competency. Like I want a real partner.
A team player, real
Right.
partner. Mm-hmm.
Partnership is not. A lot of people think, and this goes down to the conversations when you get into arguments in a relationship. Oftentimes, you seeing this person as your opposition. I gotta win this.
Right.
That's where things go wrong. The point is not for me to win it or for you to win it. The point is for us to come to a common ground and realize where we need to go from here, right? But when you look, instead of looking at your partner as a partner or a teammate, you're looking at them as just somebody that's here. They're an adversary at times and they're a friend at others. That's not healthy. And so I want a woman who really wants to be a partner, which means whatever role we have to play with each other during those moments, that's the roles we're going to take on, right? And there doesn't need to be a bunch of apprehension over that because you know that it's going to come back around the other way. There's going to come times where you up in your finances as the man and you can take care of every single thing. She don't even have to worry about nothing. She keep all that money she make and everything's going good for the relationship. But what happens when you lose the job? What happens when the economy's in a downturn, the business isn't making any money? Is she a partner? Is she willing to say, hey, look, you know, I know you're working really hard and the money is low, but you're doing the best that you can, and we got things to pay for. I'm going to go pick up this part-time shift, right? Mm-hmm. That's a partner. Somebody that says we got needs that need to be met, and you shouldering this load on your own is not adequate. It's not enough. It's not what you need to be doing. It's not fair to you, and it's not going to allow us to succeed as a couple and as a family. I love a partner, right? But really the other thing I wanted to hit on is appreciative. I want her to be appreciative, right? I need you to be just as loud in your praise and your admiration as you are in your criticism, if not louder.
Exactly.
A lot of women are quick. Go ahead.
Let me say something real quick, and I thought about it. You and Rex have this statement about partnership. You said, together our strengths multiply.
Yeah.
Divided, they dissipate. I don't know exactly how y'all said
it. It was Rex's saying, but I believe he says either way they magnify, right? If you're in a healthy partnership, then your strengths
magnify
if
and multiply.
If you're in a bad relationship, then your weaknesses multiply.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Man, when he said that, I'm like, man, that's profound. You know, divided, your weaknesses, that's what he exactly said.
Yeah.
Multiply, and together they increase. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
But yeah, appreciation, man, right? A lot of women are quick to criticize, right? They're quick to tell you everything you don't do right. Second you don't do, you could do 10 things in a row right. That one thing you do wrong, you always this, you always that. A lot of men that I know now, they struggle with their own self-confidence because they grew up in single-parent households where their mother projected the pain that they had from they sorry daddies onto their sons. Mm-hmm. And so on the one instance, they babied them boys, but on the other instance, they also chastised them for every single thing that they didn't do right. And so they grow up and they don't know how to receive any form of admiration. They always push it off. Right? They grow up and they're constantly needing a woman to praise them for things that it's like, what are we even talking about? Like there just comes a time where we have to realize that the way you talk to a person, we're human beings, and human beings thrive off of positive reinforcement.
Right. I had a conversation with a person, and I told her about her sons. Guys, she kept criticizing and destroying her sons. I looked at her one day. I said, you know what? I said, I know that's your son. I said, but you're castrating him. And I said, you're gonna castrate him to the point to where he's not gonna be sure who he is as a man. And I know you saying, well, that's my son. I get birth. Yeah, but he belongs to God still. I want to say this. There was a math teacher that did a test and to piggyback on what you said. And he did the multiplications one times. He did all of them. I don't know if he did nine times one, but whichever one he chosen, and he made a mistake on purpose on one of them. And then did you see that, Matt? And he said, okay, tell me about this. And the kids were laughing. They said, what's wrong? What's wrong? He said, they said you missed one. He said, isn't that interesting? You focused on one out of the 10. I got 9 right, but you focused on the one I got wrong. He said, that's an issue. That's one of those turnoffs to me, that a person or female is constantly criticizing you, or I like to say it this way, constantly talking about the farmer with her mouth full. Constantly talking about the farmer with their mouth full.
I fed you.
The farmer out there,
the reason you eat.
Big Mac, they got a matter of fact, Big Mac, they got Big Mac, just talking about this farmer. But he's the one that's out there in the sun. We're the one toiling. We're the one praying over you. We're the one fasting. We're the one asking God to sharpen us so we can lead our families effectively. Yet, because I didn't say I'm sorry quick enough, you want to ride that out. You ride that like Tonto riding that Palomino horse on the Long Ranger. Come on, somebody. So.
Man, that makes sense to say. But one thing I do want to say with that is that, for me, again, at this stage of my life, I don't have that. I don't have that issue. But I do work with a lot of.
You're not dating, are you?
I'm not dating either. But
that's why you don't have that issue,
right? But but also, I do know my standard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I know what I will take, and I know what I will not take.
Cut that off early,
right? So, but
that's a good point.
But going back to what you said, man, a lot of men don't. If a guy is with a woman and she's not supportive, she's always negative, she's always criticizing, a lot of men don't know how to leave. They don't know how to address that behavior. Because like you said, Rex, that
Miles.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's good.
We always together, so I get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Miles. Most men experience women that have that moms, rather.
Yes.
That same behavior. You ain't this. You like your daddy. You ain't going to be about nothing. Whenever they start dating a woman and she does the exact same thing, that is familiar to him.
Yes.
And he can just ignore it like it's
That's just
perfectly
the way
good
women
treated,
are, yeah.
right? But it's not. It is so wrong. So men got to learn how to learn what they can tolerate and what they cannot tolerate. But that goes back to what y'all said. He can't tolerate or know what he wants till he knows his purpose. So just being able just to say, hey, this is not the standard that I want to be in.
Yeah.
So just knowing that.
Let me ask you a question. Well, let me make a statement. There's a person that they said they grew up in a home where the mother, his mom, he constantly criticized his dad and put his dad down and just belittled his dad, and his dad didn't say much. I looked at the person, I said, wow, that's interesting, because your mother married down, but he married up. She was constantly critical of her husband. That means you married beneath yourself.
that means you
But yet, this man married up and getting you, because you're the one that has the issue with him.
Yeah.
And he's never complaining about you. And when I looked at him, he said, man, I never thought about it that way. I said, again, when you just are about business, like you said, you got to, and again, our actions define us, our purpose define us. You cannot be afraid to walk away and let stuff go. And this man stayed in that marriage, and he said it did a job on him. But I said he didn't realize that he was the winner in this, and she was the loser. That's probably why she was always mad and angry.
Projection.
All right, what's your second one, Big Mac? You got another question?
My second one would be she has to have the same values and morals.
Okay.
I think that's big because, when it comes to even this spending, saving, investing, or just the way that just the same values. I see a lot of couples in counseling, they come to me, and the issue is that they don't have the same values. They don't have the same morals. Their standards are different, right? And if I'm dating someone and we don't have the same values, it just won't work for me. I don't think it'll work. In fact, even recently, I had a couple of couples come to me recently after the election and about the whole Trump election, right? And one spouse voted this way, one spouse voted that way. And there was some contention about the values each other had, So that's, for me, a person should have my same values and same morals. What I'd expect to be good, what I expect to be right, that's very important to me. So for me to date somebody, that has to be one of the conversations that we have, or rather, I observe over a period of time, because people can say whatever they want to say. I'm able to observe her morals, her character, her integrity over a period of time.
And can we throw the word in there, expectation? Would that fit in there? The reason why I say that, because you sit down at the table and say, these are my morals and my values, and my expectation is that we match or we don't, or So in other words, I expect us to be on the same page on major issues.
Think about that, right? For me, I think you're only able to observe a person's moral and characters, because people can lie very, very well.
Yeah.
And
Put on a face. Yeah.
You have to really just observe them and just watch them.
Yeah.
Right. Spend time.
You got to spend
So
time.
Rex says something about that, what you said with expectations. He has a saying, he says agreements over expectations. He says expectations are, my undisclosed, predetermined notions about right and wrong and what I desire. But when I don't communicate with you, there's no agreement on whether you're aligned with that or not. But when I communicate those expectations to you, you would communicate yours with me, and then we come to a common ground on what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. Now we have an agreement. Agreements can be held accountable. Agreements can be seen as balanced and even and understood and comprehended. Versus expectations, we all have expectations. But is it fair to throw our expectations on somebody who never asked for us to live to your expectations? Or is it better for us to say, hey, these are my expectations, these are yours. What do we agree upon here? And are going to make the basis of our relationship.
And I think when you put your expectation on the table is another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Now you can say, and here's again, I think expectations are negotiable. Yeah. I think your core values are not.
That's good.
So in other words, I may have an expectation of spending 3 nights a week with you, but your schedule will only allow you to spend 2 nights a week with me. Yeah. So can I adjust my expectation that we do spend time together throughout the week?
That's good.
And see, that's how I look. Also, I introduced this to you know, every time I talk about this brother, and especially in this type of settings, my heart just rejoiced because Leotis Hightower really is a self-sharpening person. I know this. Matter of fact, I coined the phrase for him about himself, but I introduced him to what is called a marriage mission statement. And I think we ought to have a dating mission statement too. Why are we dating? Well, what's the purpose of it? You know, I know some people say, well, I date because I just want a pretty woman on my arm. That sounds so shallow. But why are you dating? Does this have a destination? Does this have a purpose? Why are we doing what we're doing?
That's good.
Yeah. And I want to comment on what Max stated. These goes back to the challenging conversations that we're not having. We have these expectations, but nothing is communicated, nothing is talked about. And sometimes we have to have these hard conversations, which shouldn't be hard, but they have to be communicated. If not, they're constantly miscommunicated, or expectations. But we don't ask those hard questions. We avoid those hard conversations that we have to have.
What's that book that you introduced me to, sir?
My God.
Something Conversations. Remember it?
Critical Conversations.
Critical Conversations. Guess what? I told you I'm avid, right? I called my half-price books, and they got it, so I'm going to go pick it up.
Good.
I need the hard copy. You know why? Because these critical conversations are the bedrock to effective relationships. If I cannot sit down across from you and talk about everything that's hard, and everything has a time and a place, but if we never get to the conclusion where we have a in-depth conversation about life, we're just so shallow. Remember that one time we were at the men's meeting, I told the gentleman, I said, look, sir, let's go deep sea diving.
Yes.
He said, let's go deep sea, because you have to get to the point, and I love how you said, Hightower, where this is uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know, there are conversations that are just necessary, period. There's no way around them. And if you don't have a person that's willing to sit down at the table and have these necessary conversations, then you'll never be anchored in that relationship.
But also that goes back to, that's part of the growth process. Every Thursday, my wife and I, we have a standing meeting that we meet every Thursday to talk about what's working in our relationship, what's not working. And sometimes them conversations are very challenging. But at the same time, it's part of the growth process. And one thing I know as being a leader, man, when you're constantly growing, you're always uncomfortable. I do things all the time that's uncomfortable. Even being up on the stage, I probably did over 100 podcasts, and it's still nervous for me and anxiety felt. But that's part of the growth process. And when you're going through this process, man, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable and you want to stay comfortable, you can't grow. You can't grow.
Yeah, you're gonna stay in the boat. Now, and one thing that Hightower and I think it's an unspoken rule that we've been accountable to each other concerning our health.
We have.
Yeah, but man, listen, I just really been taking care of my health. Excuse me, taking care of my health, and so I started going to Lifetime Fitness. Ooh, Jesus help me.
That's a different level, sir.
That's a whole nother level. From, as my friend said, La Fitness. She told me La. I said, girl, that's my buddy's wife. I said, her name Grace. I said, Grace, that's LA Fitness. But anyway, one of the things that I've been doing now is going into the sauna room, and then from the sauna, I go into the steam room. Uncomfortable. That I sit in 120-degree sauna, and then I go into a steam room that's about 135, 140 degrees. Uncomfortable. I stay 20 minutes in the sauna and 10 minutes in the steam room. But yet, man, my health is starting to, the blood circulation, the blood flow, the respiratory, the sleeping good at night. I mean, it's just, I'm starting to see the benefits, but I had to put myself in an uncomfortable position to get some progress. Yes. All right. Have you said your second one, Big Mac?
Yes, sir.
Have you said what's your second one, sir?
So my second one, man, it goes back to Proverbs 14:1. I'm a paraphrase. Proverbs 14:1 talks about a woman can build her house with her hands. However, a foolish woman can tear it down.
Absolutely.
I'm big on emotional intelligence.
Oh my goodness, that's
emotional intelligence.
Hightower, how does a woman tear down her house?
Woo! So her wisdom isn't just in her words, but it's how she manage her emotions with grace. And if you don't manage it with grace, you can actually tear your house down
Right,
based
right,
off
right.
not being emotionally intelligent. So it plays a major factor. That's one of my biggest pet peeve. I ain't gonna say biggest pet peeve. That's one of the biggest things I look at in women now. Is their emotional intelligence? How do they resolve conflict? How does she manage her emotions when we having things that's not comfortable? How she's going to respond and react? How she's listening? So that's a major thing that I look for in a woman is emotional intelligence.
And then how does she process what you are saying?
Correct.
And then,
correct,
you know,
correct.
because information in has to come, information out. It has to be, okay, what are you saying? And one thing that, you know, I believe in my heart is that every situation can be correctable. It doesn't mean you're going to stay in the situation.
Yes.
But I believe that every situation, whether you decide that this is not working, let's part amicably and not destroy each other.
Right.
And let's want the best for each other. That was a good solution.
Yep.
But if we destroy and beat each other down before we talk about if I can't have you, I want nobody to have you. You know, that's just a level of ignorance,
Yep.
right? But all right, my next one, I wrote it down, but I'm gonna jump down to my next one is emotional intelligence. That's why I said, matter of fact, it's so important. I wrote it down twice. Look, Miles, I wrote it down.
You did write it
Two times. I wrote it down twice because I told you after the death of Kathy Lynn Ray, life became so focused for me. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and one of my favorite Cracker Jacks toys. Remember the toys inside the Cracker Jack box? You remember that?
Oh, yes, yes,
Was a
yes.
magnifying glass.
Oh, yes.
And we would take the magnifying glass and point it like with this anthill. And we had anthills in California, and we would take butterfly. We was
I was acting up.
we was ruthless.
Cutting up.
So we would pull the wings off butterflies so they couldn't fly, and then barbecue them. But what we, but really, Mom,
Terrorists.
it's a terrorist. But what we would do is we would take that magnifying glass, and the sweet spot on it, we get that ray of sun in it, and it would concentrate times 10, and create. We could actually light fire. Yeah. We could light a fire on there. You know, so y'all made me forget my point.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is that when we focus in on and really just bring all of our energy together to accomplish something good, and then when we have a conversation, it's not to destroy each other. It's really to build each other up, or to see even the differences. Where can we agree to disagree? Right. And if we can, because even like you said about that married couple, what difference does it make if you voted for Kamala Harris or President or Trump? What difference does it make? Mm-hmm. What difference does it make? Because again, that shouldn't divide people. Because in the end, watch this. In the end, each one of those candidates got issues that we're gonna have to deal with, regardless.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Right.
yes.
So we have to have some emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, you ready for the next one, sir? We'll go to the next one. Go ahead.
So my next one is grace.
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 Wow.
You kind of just hit on a little bit, Hightower, in your last point. You talked a little bit about grace, but grace is crucial to me because we're humans, you know, and there's nothing worse than feeling like you can't make a mistake around somebody, because they're gonna blow it up and make it bigger than it needs to be. There's nothing worse than, you know, as a man, you're learning, you're growing every single day. So the things that I don't know yesterday, but I now know today, imagine if you held me to my worst time, to when I didn't know it. Give room for your partner to grow, right? And so I look.
Say that one more time, young man.
You got to give room for your partner to grow.
Yes, yes.
When I'm, you know, looking at a woman, and when I think about my lady, one of my favorite qualities that we have for each other is grace. Is the fact that no matter how upset I can get about something you did or how we reacted in this particular circumstance, the fact that I know that you're a teammate, all the things have to work together, right? The fact that I know you're my teammate and my partner, I know that at the end of the day, you're doing your best, right? Just because in this moment you didn't show up as your best, I know that you love me. I know that you're trying your hardest to be the best partner that you can be. My job, I'm doing the exact same thing. But when you deal with a woman who doesn't have grace, and every single time something happens, it's like it's the end of the world, then how do we grow? How do we get through 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years together? And that's one of the realities that I had to learn. And I might have talked about this on one of the previous Purposeful Blends, what you call it?
Podcast, about your radio programs. That's what we're on radio.
I think one of the things that I said on there, it might have been somewhere else where I said it, is because my parents, have been together for 30 years and they didn't argue in front of us. They had pretty good communication skills from everything that we could see. I never knew some of the struggles that they went through, right? And it wasn't until I've gotten older over the past few years that I realized, and they talked to me about some of the struggles that they've gone through in their 30 years. And I realized, oh, okay, like you guys go through things too. And that redefined relationships for me to know that, like, it's not just sticking together and making it work. It is real work that happens.
Absolutely.
It is real intentional work that happens to keep a relationship flowing, to keep a marriage going. And so those vows that you take are real.
Right.
When it says till death do us part in sickness and in health, right? It means it because you're going to go through every single one of those seasons throughout the course of your marriage. Mm-hmm. And I want a partner that has enough grace to still love me for who I am, even when sometimes I don't show up as the best version of myself.
Wow.
Yeah, Mouse, I like that point. I want to ask you something, brother, and thank you for pointing that out. As you stated, we're not perfect. Mm-hmm. All of us are working to get better, and we have to give each other grace. What do you think it is that's the biggest issues that's stopping a person from giving grace, in your opinion?
Man, it's two things. One is going to be their own trauma, right? Because
Explain, sir. Explain.
Yeah, so if you've grown up in situations where, let's just say I'll put it like this. At a certain point in time, when people see a certain pattern, they start to go from, some we say in debate is correlation doesn't always equal causation. Just because something is similar doesn't mean it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Right? So if they've seen in the past when, their father said they were going to pick them up and take them out for their birthday, and dad never showed up, right? Because dad had his own issues, was never really part of their life, then they correlate when a man does these particular things that he's not really here for me. He doesn't really love me. Now, let's say me and her have a date plan. I'm taking her, been punctual all these dates. And let's say me and her have a date plan. And for one reason or another, I show up late or I can't make it to the day and I got to cancel last minute. She jumps and says, you don't love me, right? This is not how a man would act if he loved me. Right? Because she's seen it before. Her trauma makes her correlate the two. Right. When in reality, I just had something that popped up that I couldn't control. And I'm going to do my best to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's not even my norm. But she's going to see that correlation between what she's seen happen previously. Then the second thing that I think happens that causes people to not be able to give grace is not knowing what improvement looks like in the first place. Because you get this weird dichotomy where people are in a space where they're like, well, what's the difference between me sticking around for somebody who ain't gonna change, and I'm wasting my time, and the difference between me sticking around with somebody who's actually, making progress, and it's gonna happen eventually. Like, it's just taking them some time. How do I differentiate? And I said this on the show the other day, on Tuesday. I said, by looking at incremental progress. Everybody wants to see the end result, right? Where you no longer, let's say you're dealing with a woman who talks very brash, right? She's grown up in an environment where she had to stand up for herself and be louder to be heard. That's my lady's story, right? So when we first started dating, I've never had to go back and forth and yell, argue. That's not even in my vocabulary.
That's not in your DNA, because that's not how you didn't see your parents doing that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm arguing about the Cowboys, I'm not yelling.
So you argue about the Cowboys?
I got a whole lot of arguing that I do about.
There's always argument.
Yeah, you always argue. You want to start arguing right now?
I'm telling you. Look, we can after this show was.
Need some grace right now.
You should do.
I'm sorry, man.
No, but genuinely, I can go back and forth with somebody, but I'm not raising my voice.
Right.
But I noticed that with her, man, we're yelling. And I'm like, bro, I don't even get out of character like this. Why am I yelling with you? And I had to realize because she was loud. Naturally, she would just get loud in certain circumstances whenever she would get triggered. Because growing up in a family full of women that are the ones that are running everything.
Right.
Women are loud, they're emotional. Like the way that they responded to each other, she learned at a very early age. If you're not loud enough, you don't get heard.
You get heard, right? Exactly.
Your voice will not be felt. So that's how she learned to communicate. So if I judged her and didn't have any grace, right, I would be looking at the fact that even though we're 6 years in almost, there are times when she yells, right? And I would be sitting there saying, you still ain't changed. Rather than looking at the incremental progress and saying, when we used to have confrontation, there was never a time you wouldn't yell. Your voice was going to get raised every single time. Now, that may happen once every 15 times we have a difficult conversation. I appreciate that about you because you didn't have to change that. But because we're looking for perfection and we don't know what real growth looks like, we don't know how to extend grace to a person who really cares and who's really trying. And you would want it in return for yourself because change don't happen overnight.
Denzel Washington said in the first installment of Equalizer, he said, progress, not perfection. Progress. Most people don't understand the journey of progress. In other words, it's, and like you said, incremental steps of getting there. And Hightower, that's an excellent question because, man, when we deal with a person, I think a third reason why people don't know how to extend grace is because they've never had it extended to them.
Yeah.
And they've never experienced or encountered it. The Bible said Jesus came and ministered grace and truth. Not truth and grace, because truth is extremely hard.
Come on.
But when you deal with grace, when you do it with grace, it's palatable and it becomes where I can actually consume it, or I can break it down, I can use it. And so, you know, I want to say this quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, violence is the voice of the unheard. Let me tell you how that fits into what we're talking about. You also got to take a step back and ask yourself, why is this person the way they are?
Yes.
Because if we have gone through life and never have been heard, we're going to manage our emotions differently on how to get heard. And at some point, we're going to say, you know what, you're not listening? I can show you better than I can tell you. So, you know, we got to take into consideration, and we said something before we went on the air, is that we as men have to take responsibility for the condition of our females.
True,
Yeah.
true.
And I'm going to say that, and that the pre-qualify that. Not 100% of what our women are dealing with is our issue. It's their issue because they got to know how to. But we have dropped the ball in just certain things. And I'm going to say this. I am fortunate. 5 of my 6 kids are doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And I have adult conversations with them. I mean, it's like, it's crazy because, and I share some things with, I didn't tell you this. My daughter sent me a clip, Hightower, where she was doing a seminar with 4,000 students this time.
Wow.
And so I'm looking at this girl, but again, they were brought up in an environment where they were taught you can say anything you want to, but it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And so so again, we have to create environments for the women that we're married to and or are dating, for them, okay, I have this grace, but the grace is not for you to stay stuck. You got to keep moving. So remember I said grace and truth. Even though Jesus Christ gave us grace, he still expects us to do what? To walk in the truth.
That's good.
And I like what Miles stated, and I want to acknowledge you for that, Miles. You actually said you told your girl you like how she's not doing something else.
Yeah.
It's pretty much complimenting her and acknowledging that you're
Exactly.
seeing the progress.
Exactly.
So we definitely have to make acknowledgement when we're seeing that progress.
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard, isn't it, sir?
It is hard.
It could be because it may not be the progress that we want to see,
Exactly.
but it's
Or as
progress.
quick as we want to see it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Talking about,
It's important.
okay.
It's important.
Positive reinforcement.
Correct.
Everybody
Positive
wants
reinforcement.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then you notice something? Have you noticed, how old is your son, Big Mac?
He's 15.
How tall is he?
He is 5'7".
You didn't see him grow. He just grew up. But somebody said, man, that boy getting big. And you're like, because you're around him every day, right?
You don't see
So
it.
you don't see the progress.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is we have to be intentional about saying, you know what? I'm acknowledging you. I acknowledge the fact that you have grown.
Yeah.
I've acknowledged the fact, I knew that was a difficult step. Wow. And I think every single one of us up here are alpha males. And it's easy for us to say, put your big girl panties on and shut up and quit crying. The end.
Wow.
Right?
I done been there.
Then you got to duck because some going to come hurling that.
Oh, yeah.
And I also want to acknowledge what you stated, Pastor Ray, in regards to we have to really take a stance and realize a lot of the issues with our women today has a factor to do with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But also, I want the women that's listening to pay attention. It's bigger than just us.
Yes.
A lot of this is systematic, man.
Yes.
It's systematic. When you look at how they destroyed the black household and pretty much disintegrated our wealth, it goes all the way back to the Ashanti tribe.
Yeah.
So you look at Pastor Ray, you're how old?
I'm that old.
You're that old, okay?
Yeah.
You're part of the generation, man, that goes back to that the Vietnam era.
Yeah, I'm that old. And we have some people in the audience, forget you too. Because she out there like, forget you. I can, you know what, bump you, All right. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not to put you on the spot, but the point I'm trying to make is you look at you look at the different generations. You got the Vietnam era.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
The guys was forced to go to war. They didn't want to go to war.
Nope.
Okay. They came back as what they call junkies.
Yep.
Pretty much, they gave them medicine that was supposed to be medicine, was drugs. They came back here strung out. Then you got the Ronald Reagan era in regards to the welfare reform that pretty much kept the men outside the house.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about 30 to 40 years of men not being in the house.
Right.
It caused such a major issue. So a lot of this is systematic in regards to what's going on. However, it falls back on us to start making them
We
wrongs
got to
right.
make the changes.
Right.
So we really have to take accountability and realize some of it is our part, but a lot of it is intentionally to keep us separated and divided.
I agree.
But another flip. Let's talk about the flip side of it, because you're absolutely. I'm 69. I'll be 70 July 4th.
Okay.
But the flip side of that is this too, because of that system that we call the systematic. What it has done, it has created. And these are general statements, ladies. So don't put the clout on them. Don't get mad at me.
If it don't apply, let it
Right,
fly.
right. But it has created a masculine, feminist,
Correct.
female
Correct.
that has actually taken our manhood away from us.
Yep.
If we don't have a place to land in your life as a man,
That's
then we're gonna move on to something else.
That's good.
If we, you like that?
No, that's
You want to write that down?
I
Yeah,
have
you want
seen
your pen?
that.
Yes.
I have seen it, man. I have homeboys that have ladies in their life that they just never could really figure out what it was about them. They're like, man, every time I come around, I just feel like I can't be a man with her.
Right.
Prime example, she grew up in situations where she had to be that type of man.
Mm-hmm.
And also the vice versa of that is my homeboy is the type of dude that grew up in a household where he saw his father taking a back seat and being very docile. So he doesn't know how to address that with her. And so he always is feeling emasculated constantly.
Right.
And it's like, man, it's a tough place to be for a man. And so when he would do his things, his cheating and stuff, it was always with the women that made him feel like a man.
Absolutely.
She would cook
Absolutely.
for him and relax and let him express his emotions, and she would just be soft. She wasn't even a better girl than the woman he had.
Probably didn't look. Probably look worse. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny.
No,
you know.
but genuinely, it wasn't even comparable. But the thing that girl did for him, and this is a human thing. Humans are they will have. Was it us that were talking about this, where we said, you'll have 9 things that's going great for you, but that one thing that you're missing will be the one thing that the person that deals with you the most will desire in other people.
Right,
if
right.
they're not cognizant. And so he's going after these women who give him that softness and that femininity. But the reality of it is, it really roots down to his trauma, her trauma that they have that they could have worked out amongst each other.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. You were saying.
That soft place to land is real.
What I found interesting about cheating couples is they're not having sex with each other, but then they'll go have sex with somebody else.
Yeah.
Help me out with that one.
Yeah.
I don't want you to touch me, but then, so and so, I'm gonna be nice about how I say it.
Anyways, what I was going to say was this guy.
Come on, Big Mac, talk to us.
When it comes to grace, y'all, so one of the things I learned with grace, that a lot of people can't give grace because they don't know how to give grace,
to themselves.
It's like we don't know how to be nice to ourselves. We don't know how to be loving to ourselves. We don't know how to be kind to ourselves. And if we don't practice that behavior by ourselves, it's almost impossible to give it away.
That's good.
That's true.
And most men, as we all know, we are very hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And also, we also learned that nobody really cares if you hurting.
Yep.
Suck it up, drive on. Don't be no punk.
Right.
So we learn we don't get grace, because if we get grace, you're
Weak.
Right.
you're weak.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had to learn as men, in order to be better men to our wives, girlfriends, daughters, sisters, aunties, is that it starts with our ability to self-love, to start the self-work. And one of the things I'm hearing on this panel is that everything deals with our ability to heal.
Yes.
Most men are broken. I said, I don't care who's, I said it over and over and over again. Men are broken.
Yeah.
Right.
And black men are broken more than any other, to me. I could be wrong, but from what I see, we're broken the most. So it's always going to be a level of dysfunction in our relationships, because the foundation is me,
Yeah.
and it's broke.
Yeah.
But watch this, Big Mac. It doesn't have to be that way.
At all.
You know why? Because we strengthen ourselves in every other area.
Yeah.
Go in detail about that. What you mean?
Yeah, give
Huh?
me more.
Go in detail. What you
Okay,
mean?
I get where you're going.
Yeah, Everett, watch this. I didn't see a good example of what a father was or what a husband was. Yet I go to a 4-year institution and I graduate to the top of my class.
Yeah.
Although I didn't see anybody in my family graduate, I still pursue that. Or I get on the gridiron, I become the best football player I can ever be. But I don't put the same time and effort and investment in my relationships that I did in this sport or this thing. So you got to understand that the way we look at and accept things. Oh, I'm a black man. This is the way it's going to be. I grew up during the Vietnam War. I grew up in South Central L.A. I've been called an N-I-G-G-E-R, rather, to my face. But yeah, that's not how I define myself. I could have succumbed to that mentality or that treatment and never pushed past. You know, let me ask y'all this question while we're talking about this. One of my pet peeves when people tell me, you know, because of my age, I'm set in my ways. I don't fit that description. You know why? Because I am self-sharpening too. Yeah. A person who's stuck in their ways won't look at things from a different perspective.
True. Yeah.
True.
And my daughter, and y'all heard me say this on the podcast, matter of fact, on partnerships, my daughter started talking to me and my ears perked up. I read all the time. I hang around with younger people. I mean, I'm how old are you, Matt?
I'm 50.
50. How old are you, sir?
26.
How old are you, sir?
47.
I'm 69. I'm 19 years older than the oldest person up here. So if I was set in my ways, I wouldn't be around people like y'all, because y'all are constantly challenging me to look at my traditional ways and see if they still have value.
Yeah, that's real. What are you about to say, Mac? Mac, you want to say
So,
something?
yeah, I want to say that. So I understand that we learn how to work on ourselves physically, or we go to school and get these degrees and whatever, but we are not given the space to do the work a lot of times.
Yeah.
Most of the times, we can say that we can do the self-work, right? I get it all day long. But the truth of the matter is that we're not given that space.
True.
What do you mean? Be specific. What do you mean?
So it takes a certain type of man to be in a place where he wants to get better, right? And for most men, we just follow the norm.
Say that again. Most men do what?
Most men follow the norm.
Follow the norm.
But on this panel, yes, with our circle, yeah, we all trying to become better. We all purposeful. So therefore, looking at becoming better, we look at all areas of our life and what area needs to get better. So we do this, we do this. But most men don't. Most men have the mindset that if I'm doing self-work, I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
And every woman, oops, my bad.
What happened? What happened?
But men are taught that way, right? So when you talk about a man, this dude growing up from where I'm if you same thing, dude named whoever, talking about doing self-work, everybody in the circle gonna call him.
What you talking about?
Man, if I'm a gangster, if I'm a pimp, whatever you want to call it, and I'm trying to do better, I'm not going to get no support. I'm going to be by myself. Yeah. Whenever a man starts doing self-work, he automatically becomes isolated from his peers, from his family, from his peers.
I think.
Let me say something real quick.
Go ahead.
How many of us come from a dysfunctional family up here?
I think that's everybody.
No. This brother hadn't.
Yeah.
Okay, true.
But what I'm saying, me and Hightower, we talked about this, but we're all sitting at the same table,
Right.
with the same level of growth,
Yeah.
and development, although our backgrounds are totally different. Why? Because we follow not the average person or the norm.
Yeah.
True.
Somebody asked me, said, man, how'd you become such a good father, a good leader? It wasn't because I saw it in the home. It's because I sharpened myself. I read. I took time to criticize myself, to criticize my walk, right?
What one thing can you remember that set your mindset differently? Was it some point in time where you experienced something, you saw something, and you know what? I'm going to do it differently, or I'm going to just be different. Because I think everybody goes to a point in their life where they just see something, and they know what? I'm not going to be like everybody else. Was there any experience you can think of?
Yes, and I think every person has that wow moment, but not everybody acts on it. December 3rd, 1975, in East Lansing, Michigan, I tried to take a man's life. I shot the brother twice. I hit him in the back, and I hit him in his leg. He didn't die, so I followed him to the hospital to execute him. Are you listening to me?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Big Mac talking about, "Ooh, Lord, I'm glad you said."
I ain't got no story now.
So let me hurry. But the point of the matter is, when I stood in front of that judge and he looked me in my face and said, everybody before me went to prison that day. I was the last one on the docket. That judge looked me in my face and said, here's what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to reduce your attempted murder charge to felonious assault, and I'm going to fine you $280. I don't want to ever see you in my courtroom again. That was my wow moment. That was the day I said, I can't do this. And I spent 4 days in county jail. And on the second day I was there, I was laying on my bunk with my face, I was facing the wall, and I felt my bunk move. And I turned around, and the guy was going to climb up in the bed with me. I said, man, what you doing? He said, I'm going to tap that. I said, tap what?
Yeah.
Tap what?
Yeah.
I said, you know I'm in here for attempted murder. I said, climb up here. I said, I will take your life. And I called him all types of colorful names. And the reality was, is this the life I want to live, man? I said, no. I said, I can't. Man, I remember April 19th, 1977, at 1008 West Atlantic Way in Lansing, Michigan. I sat on the edge of my bed, and I lifted my hand. I cried like a baby. I said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I need you to come into my life. That was the first person. That was the person I got caught trying to kill. Yeah. I've tried to take several lives, and I started realizing, man, I'm not afraid to take a person's life. I can't live like this. Yeah. Was that good enough?
That's good. I think the middle between what y'all are talking about is you're talking about the fact that at the end of the day, no matter what your circumstances are, you have a choice, and you can change your circumstance. And I think what Mac is talking about is a lot of people don't even know what choices truly exist out there for them because of their environment. Sure. Really puts them in a space to where they think they don't have that option, right? Because if your identity is so wrapped up in your peers, right? Jason Wilson is somebody I follow on Instagram. Y'all have seen his videos, but it's kind of hard for me to describe him. Black man, he's in his mid-50s, gray beard, and he does martial arts training with these young boys in the cave of Adullam. And he named it after the Bible, the cave of Adullam in the Bible, where men would come in to David.
And they would hide in there.
Exactly. They would hide in there. But when they came out, I can't remember what they were called, but these were men that they didn't have their life together. But when they would leave that cave, they were called like triumphant men. I can't remember.
There were 400 men who were in debt.
400 men.
And they were beaten down. They were weak. They didn't know what their purpose was.
Yes. And when they came out of there, they were transformed.
They sure were.
Right. And so that was the whole purpose of what he does. But he talked about the fact that when he was growing up, and he wanted to be a thug because that was what he saw around him. That's what his brothers were. That's what he admired to be, and different things were happening in his life. And I think that everybody has a moment where God steps in and gives you the opportunity to see him and choose a different route. But a lot of times what ends up happening is the devil is present in that moment too. And you got them options. And sometimes you choose the wrong one, and you choose the wrong one again, and you choose the wrong one again, and you choose the wrong one again, into a point to where you feel like you can't get out of the hole. And then shame separates you from the Lord. I may be sitting on this stage, but I've been an unfaithful man in my life before. Right?
But why are you sitting on the stage, sir?
Because I've worked on myself.
I say that one more time. Say that one more time.
The key is I worked on myself.
Okay.
But the key was I had to change environment. Until I changed the inputs, I didn't even realize that I had a possibility to change my
But you made a decision.
Yeah. But you know what made me make that decision, though?
What's that?
Pain.
Of
Just
course,
like
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
And I think most
Comes to
people,
a point,
you either make a change in your life when you're at a moment of extreme pleasure or a moment of extreme pain. And I think that's the thing that we need to realize as men is you don't have to get to that point. You can make the change. You don't have to get to your wits' end or reach the mountaintop to say, I don't want to do this no more, right? You can make a choice right now today to say, I know the things that I'm doing. I know it ain't right. I know I'm not right with God. I know I don't have the relationship that I need to be. I know that I don't open up with my emotions and this woman is trying her best with me. I know I don't know how to communicate. I know that I'm too tough for my own good. And say, you know what? I don't have to get put on a deathbed or about to lose my marriage for me to say that I'm going to change things.
What are some steps that you think that we can give to the guys that's listening that are in the exact same place where they are making their own decisions, they're not making the changes in their life that they should make? What are some of the things you think that we can tell them, share with them, so they can get to the place where they are doing the self-work?
Write that question down, because I want to deal with that the last half hour of the show.
That's good.
Okay, because I really want us not to rush through that.
Yeah.
I want us to do that. Do you know why I'm sitting here at 16310 Chimney Rock Road in Houston, Texas? You want to know why I'm sitting here? Because in March of 2013, I obeyed the Lord to move to Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
I had a choice.
Yeah.
I had a decision to make. It was very uncomfortable. I had a very comfortable life. My family, my kids, my grandkids. At the time, you know, Kathy was alive, her parents. So I had a foundation. I had to make a decision. Either I was going to let the fear stop me from going, or I was going to let the faith become stronger than fear to make me make a decision. So I created a space for myself to obey the Lord by saying, you know what? I will never know. What's Uncle Drew? He said, you will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. You will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. You will fail 100% of the time on a decision that you refuse to make. Right? So I jumped, and look at where we are now. So again, it's again, and I'm not refuting you, sir, but again, we have to make that space. We have to keep pushing. Let me ask y'all a question. How many of y'all have ever faced an obstacle that you kept going and finally got a breakthrough on?
Yep.
It's all the time.
Every day.
All the time.
All the time.
Yes.
Right? All the time. Excuse me.
And we supposed to be talking about the
I know we done went off.
No. We didn't go. What did I
This
tell
is
you,
good.
big man? I told you organic, right?
Organic.
So what this program is about real relationships, real issues, but what? Real solutions. So we're not going to be scripted by this. And I vowed to myself and to the Lord, we're not going to be scripted on this. We are going to deal with the issues. Now, we have poured our heart out, and that's what I want. I knew we would do that. All right. All right, 5 things that we need from a woman. We got 10 minutes, so let's go through them. Give me your 5, and then we'll have to necessarily dialogue because I want to get to that question.
So we on number 3, right?
Number 2.
Well, no, we're on needs now.
Real needs now. 5 things I need. We said 5 things we want from a woman. What are 5 things that we need from a woman? Do you want to think about that for a minute?
So
Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you one.
I can do one.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Do all 5 of them.
Well, I don't have 5 per se because a lot of my 5 are ones that I already said for my wants.
Okay, go ahead.
No, my wants and my needs, they align a lot.
Okay.
But one of the key ones is respect for my position in the relationship and in the household. That's your number 1.
Numero uno.
Yeah. I think that's so important. I'm gonna tell a story, and I've told this story before, but you guys weren't up here before. But you know, I saw my father. My father's the hardest working man that I know. I saw my father when we were growing up. I barely even get to be around him in the household, even though my parents were together, loving family, all that. I would really see my dad because he was working so many graveyard shifts and back-to-back doubles and everything. He would work from 6 a.m. in the morning to a 2 p.m. and then do it right back again, do a 2 to 10, right? So by the time he would get home at 10 o'clock, I would already be in bed. And by the time he would wake up again for that 6 o'clock shift that he was going to run right back, I would barely be waking up for school, or maybe we'd be out the door or whatever. He'd already left. So I would go a week or two barely getting to see my dad, and we're living in the same household, knowing that he loves me, but he working hard, right? And he's doing that so he can make the most amount of money for us, take care of us, make sure we're set up. And I saw my dad go from being able to be that man that was bringing in all this money. You know, my mom, never questioned his authority or anything like that. They worked together on things, but at the end of the day, it was always, well, what does your dad say about it? She never made a decision and didn't consult him. I always knew that mom and dad were on the same page. I couldn't pull a fast one. I saw that, my dad go from being that man that was making all that money, working hard, to being unemployed for 3 years whenever his job decided to merge with another company and move headquarters. He decided not to move us to Chicago. He could have, right? When Continental merged with United, and they moved their headquarters to Chicago, he could have moved us and kept his job. But I was going into my freshman year of high school. My sister was about to go into her senior year of high school. And he said, it's too fragile of a moment for my kids. I can't uproot them right now. I'll find another job. He didn't find another job. This is in the heart of the recession. Everything's going wrong. He ended up being unemployed for 3 years. So I'm going from never seeing this man as much as I want to he's always there, right? He's interviewing, of course, staying on his grind. But what I saw in that circumstance was my parents' roles had to flip a little bit. And my mom was the breadwinner now, right? My mom, as a teacher, is the one bringing in the most money in the household because my dad don't got a job. And my dad is the one doing a lot of domestic duties around the house. He's cooking for everybody. He's making sure we're up for school, taking us back and forth. He's always doing the yard work and stuff. But now he's remodeling the kitchen. Ask my mom what she want colors on the walls to be. He's making himself an asset in another way. But the one thing that never changed, it was always, what does your dad say about this? Have you talked to your father? Me and your dad need to discuss this. My mother, regardless of the income that came into that household, never allowed that to change the way she saw my father, the way she respected my father, and the way she made us respect him.
Wow.
And I see far too often in relationships, if that man's money go away, his respect is now gone.
Yeah.
Now she don't look at him the same. And it's like, no, respect is not dependent on the currency in that man's pocket. It's dependent on his character, right? Who is that man as a person? And if you love that man for who he is as a person and not just what he does for you, but who he is as a human being, not a human doing, a human being, who does he be, right? If you love him for that and you respect him for that, then you give him that same love and respect at all times. So I need a woman that respects me.
Wow. You know, I was watching this clip with this lady, the same scenario. Her husband lost his job for some reason. It wasn't his fault. Lost his job, and she gave him 2 weeks to find another job.
Yeah.
You see that? You saw that clip?
I seen that clip. It was
and she
disgusting.
left. It was disgusting. But watch this.
She left him.
She left him, but here's the catch. If any man is smart enough and see that clip, they would never date her. They would never, because she's not a true partner.
Yeah.
What your dad did was cause your mom's respect for him to go through the roof. That's what happened. But do you know what you said? He made himself valuable in another an asset in another way. It was always in him.
Yep.
That circumstance just brought it out of him.
Character.
His character.
Character don't change.
It does not change.
Who you are.
No, nor does true partnership change.
Exactly.
What I bring to the table is what I bring to the table. Wow, that's good. All right.
On me, so for me, I would say the next thing that I would want in a woman is that she has to have the desire to want to move forward and make good memories. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to be in a place where we are arguing about anything or any conflict comes up, and we got to stay there for months, weeks, days, because somebody don't have grace, can't
Lord
forgive,
Jesus.
always angry, like just stuck, right?
Yeah.
Like I want her to have the mindset that we're partners in this, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to do what it needs to be done to get to the next level, right? And then she got to have a good outlook, right? To want to make good memories. What's the purpose of living if we're not having a great time?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, life is too short.
Yeah, too short.
One thing and obviously y'all know that my wife is deceased now, but one thing about our marriage, we very seldom argued over anything. So I've been conditioned that arguing, it really irritates me. I'm not afraid to argue.
Yeah.
It's just that I never had to argue, so I'm not going. That's yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about
good,
that.
man.
HT, go for one.
Man, you all have gave some great points. Great points. One of the main reasons I married my wife, man, is for this reason I'm giving is I want a supportive woman.
Yeah.
A supportive woman.
A
Supportive, right.
supportive woman. A supportive woman is going to amplify your vision, your purpose, as well as hers.
Yeah.
She's not going to be sitting in the stands. She's going to be on your team.
Yeah.
So her support isn't submission. It's a partnership with a purpose. So I love a supportive woman, and with a supportive woman, and it shows a lot about her accountability, her encouragement, her to nurture you in the times of needs. As you stated, Miles, when your father was unemployed, your mother still was continuing to be supportive. So that's one of my biggest things I look for, and what actually attracted me to my wife is she's very supportive.
You know, we talked about something before we went live, and that was, excuse me, true partnership is not competition. It's not us switching places. It's us not trying to be what God did not create us to be. And true partnership is bringing 100% of you to the table.
Yeah.
That's what true partnership is. So as opposed to, and we talked about this, I said there's one thing, every person's value is the same because the Bible says that Jesus died for every man. So your value is the same. But the way the male is built and the way the female is built we're not equally built to handle the same thing.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that. So again, I'm 260 pounds. And like I was saying earlier, I've been trained to fight and do all these other things, and I was still weight trained. You can take a female my height, 5'10", 260 pounds, and she's probably not even a third as strong as I am.
Yeah.
Right? And it's nothing against her. It's just our bodies were made to do something different.
Yeah.
And we have to consult the creator of the body to find out, the creator, this is why did you create this body this way? What's the purpose of this body? Yeah. And to me, a strong woman is a woman who is satisfied with being a female. She's satisfied with her gender. So,
Man, y'all said something good. What was your last point, Leotis?
Support.
Support. Man, women have a what I like to call a feminine touch about how they do things, right? You ever try designing your house your way? Or designing a book or designing anything for your business without a woman's touch?
Right.
It may come out okay at best. But when she get done with it and you won't see it right away, you're probably going to be like, I don't know. I've learned to surrender that. When it comes to the creativity aspect and the design of things, I run everything by my woman. Before I submit that book cover, I had a book cover I was reading.
But somebody might call you a punk.
Man,
nah, that's smart.
I'm
That's
a
smart.
happy man.
There you go.
I'm a happy man. So call me what you want to call
Yeah, I know
me.
that's right.
I don't know no happy man saying that about another man. So,
Right.
Man, I was redesigning my book cover, and I had this vision for how I wanted it to be. And I'm working with the designer, and I'm like, okay, I think this might be the one. It was trash, y'all. But to me, I thought it looked great. And I showed it to her. She's like, so babe, tell me why you wanted it to
She
be
probably
this
would like
way.
this. She would, hey man.
Man, look, bro. And see, the thing is, she's had to work on her approach.
Hey,
She's
man.
raw with it. Like, she really will tell you that is ugly. But she's worked on her approach to say it just because she know I get triggered by that. Like, dang, I put all my hard effort into this. You
But it's ugly.
just tore it down. So she was like, babe, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, tell me your vision behind it. Why'd you want it to look that way? And then I told her. She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's what this conveys off to the reader? I'm like, well, what does it convey to you? She's like, I really don't know. When I saw it, I was confused. I said, for real? And I said, okay, well, give me some ideas of what you think it should be, right? She gave me ideas on how, I should redesign it. And I gave that stuff to my designer. My designer came back, and also I was being cheap. That was the other thing. I was going with a cheap designer. She's like, pay the other person that $50 more to design this for you.
So in other words,
See
your
what
other
they can do.
designer can only see out of one eye.
Exactly. My
Okay,
designer
yeah.
didn't have that touch either. So I went to a different designer and I gave them her suggestions. When I got it back, it was what I really wanted, but I couldn't describe
couldn't
it the way
visualize
I
it,
wanted.
couldn't
So I couldn't,
articulate
I
it.
just couldn't put it together. When I got it back, it was everything I wanted and more. It was better than I ever imagined. And that's a woman's touch.
Let me ask you something about your girl.
Yeah.
She's very direct. Can she take directness?
See? So you remember I talked about this.
No, I don't.
On the last one, remember
No,
I said
I don't.
people hear differently than they speak.
Oh, that was you. I thought that was Rex. Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
I use the example of like if I'm over in China and I want to order McDonald's, right? And I go up there and say, give me a
Happy
10-piece
Meal. I'm sorry.
McNuggets. Give me a 10-piece McNuggets with a high C orange. They're going to sit there and they're going to look like, what are you talking about? What do you want? I don't understand you because we're speaking two different languages. Even though we're talking about the same
Exact
thing.
same thing.
You hear me differently than how you may speak it or whatnot. The same thing that happens with people, and especially in relationships. My woman may talk very directly, but she hears very sensitive and gentle.
We talked about that, didn't we? Hightower.
Very sensitive and
yeah.
gentle. So when I'm used to just giving it, how I take it. All right, you giving it to me this way, this how I'm gonna give it to you, because that's just how it's always been for me. And so that is my standard, my mantra. I'm gonna dish it out if you can't take it. So she talked to me direct, I talked to her direct. But I would always be like, why are you crying now? Why you getting upset now? Why you all emotional now? You wasn't emotional and sad when you were saying all this.
Now
to
you
me.
don't even want to go to the movies.
Now you don't. Oh, okay.
All right, Big Mac, what you-
Dish it. Exactly.
Okay, let me go ahead, Big
I
Mac.
was going to comment on Miles' statement. Your girlfriend, the way that she responded to you in your book cover and how it was not right, the way she responded to you was perfect. There's a way that a woman can correct a man that encourages him and almost makes him listen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is a spirit.
That's femininity.
That's femininity.
Right.
Yes.
And I think what a lot of men don't realize, and women, is that if a woman is operating in her purpose, in her
Natural
truth,
element.
in her natural element, right?
There you go.
Men would naturally want to listen to her
Well,
because
what Matt will naturally,
Yeah.
because she's operating in her natural element.
natural state.
yeah. Because like if there's a connection there,
Yeah.
right? If you sleeping with somebody, you're going to have a connection,
Yeah.
Right.
and there's going to be an expectation, a level of trust, and value.
Yeah. That's
Hopefully,
real.
we're not men as you're not dating somebody that you think is stupid
Yeah.
or not competent or have no value.
Yep.
But most men with purpose, right? This panel and other men, we pick women that also have value.
Something to add.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. And enhancement.
And I want to finish this last thing I was saying about the communication is like what I had to learn because I had a choice. Here's another opportunity for us to talk about choice. I had a choice to say, all right, I see that the way I'm communicating with you, you don't receive it the way you dish it to me. Now I could uphold this, moral standard that I have of saying I'm gonna give it to you the way you give it to me, and we'd never get anywhere in a relationship because I'm
Right.
not gonna undo your trauma because what it is you speak out of your trauma, but you listen out of what you really desire and what you really want.
That's good, man.
Right? People hear the way that they really want to be talked to. You want somebody to care about your feelings, but because people didn't care about your feelings, you talk like you don't care, right? But that's not the reality of what your heart is. And so what I had to realize is, and this is where we talk about the concept of leadership and where I challenge every single man, because we call ourselves leaders, but we don't behave like them a lot of times, right? A leader's, position is not to be right. A leader's role is not for him to as a man, being that masculine leader, it's not for you to assert your dominance. It is for a leader in any company. Think about it. What does that leader have around him? A whole chief executive office, right? And they have different roles where they excel. You have to recognize what way is the most effective way for us to get to a proper solution. And so I could have stayed in my ways and tried to get to a solution by talking the way that she was talking to me. All right, direct is the way you talk. Direct is the way I talk. That's the way you finna get it. Or I could say, you hear softly. How can I work on my communication so that me and you speak the same language? That you can understand what I'm saying. So now what I do is even when she talks to me direct, which doesn't happen as much anymore. Like I said, she talks more soft now. That was a direct result of me changing the way I responded to her. So when she comes aggressively, I respond to her and say, babe, I love you. I just want you to know that before I start talking. I love you and I understand where you're coming from. I calm down her feelings because I can understand they're flared up in that moment. Before I try to hit her back with the logic that I'm so ready to give her, I calm her emotions first. Make sure that I understand what she's saying and why she's saying it, and then I'm able to respond with something that she can receive. Right. And that's leadership. If the people you're following can't understand you, you're not leading, you're just talking for your own sake.
Good job.
And you know what? Real leaders actually empower others to be effective within the context of the relationship.
Yes.
It empowers others. It really does. You know what, man? Are we going to be able to get to that question, Big Mac, that you asked? Because, man.
The question already, but we can keep going.
No, you did. I know. How you going to forget the question?
Because I was writing other stuff down.
Oh, y'all remember the question he asked?
It was something about how do we give men tools?
He was talking about what tools can we give people, and paraphrasing, what tools can we give people that's trying to get help and get unstuck?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, sir. I'm trying to how do they get past or how do they overcome the things? Okay, let's do this. Man, we only have
20 minutes?
No, we have about 26 minutes, 25 minutes, right? Or 24 minutes. So let's start at your end, sir. You want to start or you want me to
In
start?
regards to that question,
Yes.
first of all, you can reach out to me, CoachHightower.com.
There you go.
Slow down. Can you say it a little bit slower?
Reach out to me,
CoachHightower.com.
And I'll do a free consultation with you to find out if we can get you to the point that you're trying to get to. Second of all, I highly encourage people, man, seek counseling, seek therapy. Preferably counseling. If you can do counseling and therapy, that's even better. Our community lack, and as Mac stated earlier, we lack a lot of these resources. Myself, my wife, and Mac actually just went through a very intense leadership course about 4 months. It was about 4 months, right? They went through it?
Yeah, that was
About 4 months. And let me tell you something, going through this course, oh my God, I didn't realize I was dealing with some unresolved childhood issues that I had no clue about until going through this course. Also going through this course, Mac and I, we probably was one of only 2 black men in this course. And it goes back to, once again, we don't get all these services in our community.
Speak up just a little bit, Hatcher. Speak up, sir. Speak up.
Check. We don't get all these services in our community. So I highly recommend, man, look at the services out there. We have a lot of services out there. We got people with nonprofits that's helping in regards to emotional intelligence, professional development, personal development. And a lot of us are walking around, don't realize that we're hurting and we need help. And because we're walking around, we don't realize, we're disconnected. Yeah. We can't even communicate. As we talked about some of the relationships that we grew up in, a lot of them are toxic. We don't even realize it's toxic because it's our norm, but it's not normal. So I highly recommend, man, constantly be seeking out for personal development. Work on those communication, work on your effective listening, work on how you're dealing with your emotions. It's constant work. That's what I have for that.
Absolutely. Matt?
I would say to the people that are looking to start that self-work, to start that journey, I would say the very first thing that they should get is a peer, to get a mentor and find a support group. Because one thing that happens is, I've learned is that on this journey is that it gets lonely when you try to do better. Because your family, your friends will always say, look at you changing, you sold out. And my thing is, no, I bought in. And
that's good.
But so finding a peer group, finding a support group, right? And the next thing I think is people got to realize that choice is going to be hard and it's going to cost. And again, find somebody to go with you to go with you. Because a lot of times, as I learned late in life, is that there are a lot of men going through the exact same thing. Yeah. We're all hurting on some level. We're all struggling on some level. We all have dysfunction on some level, whatever it may be. But there is always going to be a group of men, if you seek it out, like us, you will find men that will, like you said, iron sharpens iron. You can find support. And that's the one thing that we get to realize, that we don't have to do this thing alone. We don't got to go through it alone. Men have this thing about, I'm going to just be hard, and I'm just do it, and I'm going to grind it out. And they always fail.
Every time.
But then you back there drinking a pint of Hennessy every night, smoking weed.
You're actually very fragile.
Just doing all kinds of stuff, man. Just you ain't brush your teeth, comb your hair. Come on.
Yeah.
No, but again, it's like, I'm strong. You come outside and have you ever seen somebody that looks so bad you don't even want to ask them how they doing? It's just like, hey, hi.
Yeah.
So I think, again, let me throw my little 2 cents in. I think you 5 cents, 50. Okay, first. I think you need to first determine to know that you can be free, that you can break out of this thing.
Okay, I like that.
If you don't start there, one of the things that trap us is not the outside forces. Yeah. It's the limitations that we put on ourselves. Yeah. It's what confines us the most are the limitations that we impose upon ourselves, really. And so when you understand that you are a winner, what do winners do? They win.
They win.
Yeah. Winners win. I mean, you know what? Muhammad Ali said something that was very significant. He said when he stepped into the ring, he didn't step into the ring to win. He was a winner when he stepped in there. Mm-hmm. So he was fighting from that perspective. You got to know that you can be free from this thing. That nothing actually can stop you but you yourself. Second thing you got to do, you got to change your environment. Change your environment. What environment are you in? Listen, it's one thing to grow up in the hood. It's another thing to stay in the hood after you get grown.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's one thing.
Say it again.
See, y'all start.
Say it again.
Say it again. Anyway, it's one thing to grow up in the hood. It's another thing to stay in the hood after you get grown.
You ain't lying about that.
Is it right?
Oh, that's
right.
True.
So you got to understand, I grew up north, and every year a lot of my friends' parents would come back down south to where they left to vacation. I never vacationed down south.
Good job.
You know why? Because that's where but I went down south one time and see about 4 or 5 folk look just like me. Anyway, then you need to change your friendships. You need to change because you become like who you hang around.
Yeah.
You become like who you hang around. That's why I am not your average 69-year-old man. Yeah. I'm not trying to be your age, bro. You know, because you got these tight jeans on, and you still got that kid and play haircut and stuff. I can't have nothing hugging me like that.
Got jokes.
I can't have nothing hugging me like that. But my point is, you add a level of energy and vitality to me, young man, because I admire you, and I know how you and Rex feel about me, but that's how I feel about y'all too. And then again, so you got to change your environment, you got to change your, and then the thing about it is that you just got to be persistent. You have to be persistent. It's not going to work the first time. It's not going to work the second time.
Yeah.
The Bible says that the righteous falls 7 times, but he gets back up. How many times?
Was it 8?
7 times. No, he gets back up 7 times.
Fall down, 7, back up. Yeah.
In other words, when you fall down,
Get back up.
you got to get back up. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn."
That's good.
All right. So you, young man.
Man, for me, it definitely, to me, has to start from a spiritual place. You got to accept submission. You know, we talk about our position as leaders. The greatest leader we've ever seen is Jesus.
Absolutely.
And Jesus was a servant to his people, right? He was a shepherd, which means he took care of the needs of his people, right? So when you think about that, a servant leader means that you have to be submitted to the greater power that governs you. If a man is not submitted to the Lord, who governs you? Because you submitted to something. Are you submitted to that porn you can't let go of? Are you submitted to that woman that you let infiltrate your relationship? Are you submitted to your lusts? Are you submitted to the alcohol? What are you submitted to? You're submitted to something.
Something's got you control. That's true.
Something
Good point.
has you in control, right? And I'm speaking from experience. You know, you guys know I'm open and honest about this. Dealing with an addiction that started when I was 16 years old to pornography and masturbation, right? That took over my whole life, caused me to not be faithful in my relationship and live a life that was not becoming of the man I knew I was supposed to be. Until I submitted to the Lord and said, you know, the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord, and said, God, I want to be a righteous man, so I'm going to let you lead the way and I'm going to follow. Until I let my ego, was it you that said ego means edging God out? I can't remember which one of y'all. Somebody up here might have said that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I said it.
But until
No, I don't know who's.
He'll take it.
But until I lowered that, until I lowered myself and let God get the top and get the lead of my life, nothing changed.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
You made a decision, right?
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
You see how it boils back down to, comes back down to decision.
Always.
Can
So
I add one more? Oh,
absolutely.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So one
I'll
of the
do
things
my
I want
lesson in a
to
second.
add to this, it kind of talks what you were saying, man. And when I've been working with a few men over these, maybe about a year or so, is when it comes to getting to the next level, is your ability, and I shared this with you before, is understanding that a man has to practice penis discipline.
Yes.
We did a whole
I
segment.
was about to go there next.
Oh, were you? So, I mean, if a man doesn't have penis discipline, and again, he
You said
probably...
peanut?
You know what he said.
Penis discipline.
Oh, okay.
Penis discipline.
Oh.
He probably will not go far as he can go.
Yeah.
There's going to be limit because he has no self-control in that area,
Yep.
which means that he has no self-control in another area, in other areas, in other areas.
In other words, old saying he's led with the wrong head.
Yeah, that's what some of my pastors told me when I was younger. He said, never
Good
let
point,
the head
good point,
between
man.
your legs be stronger than the head between your shoulders.
Between your ears.
So,
Okay, yeah, that's true.
The next thing, I think, after you find God
Thank
and
you,
your
sir.
submission to Him, therapy, absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for therapy, and I used to run from it all my life. Knowing that I needed it, I
Only
come up with
punks go
every
to
excuse.
therapy.
Man, every excuse. And when I started going to therapy, it changed my life within a matter of 2 weeks. The addictions that I couldn't kill, I now have I can easily say no to them now. I feel the presence creeping up when lust wants to come into my heart, and I'm able to recognize it and say,
That's a trigger.
You know where this
Right.
this is rooted in, and you know the devil trying to work on you so he can push you away. Don't let him take away your progress. And I'm able to fight better because I have somebody that's been able to listen to me, hear my childhood trauma, hear the stories growing up of where my validation and identity came from and why I even had these addictions in the first place. So therapy is crucial. Then your inputs, right? Because input changes output.
Yep.
So once you've gotten God and you've gotten your therapy, you need to start changing the things you listen to and the things you watch. right? If the things that you watch and listen to have a vulgarity all around them, have promiscuity all around them, have lustful actions, if you're trying to be better in your finances, yet everything you see is people splurging, those things are only going to encourage your subconscious mind to reinforce that that's what you want. So you have to change your input. So instead of hopping in the car and listening to drama podcast or reading the next rumor report or listen to music that isn't helpful for you, you need to start putting on podcasts that are healthy. You need to start reading books and audio books and stuff that feeds your mind new information so that you can be exposed to a different way of life. You already spoke on environment, so I'm not going to go. That's the next step. But you know, the last two things that I got is you need to kill your flesh daily. And this goes back to what you were talking about with penis control, right? We did an episode on our podcast called Zipper Control. And the whole purpose of it was exactly what you just said, Mac. A man will be limited by the control he has over his Johnson at the end of the day.
Well, what you know about that word Johnson? Did you hear? We just like your foot. Somebody with Johnson.
My daddy ain't much younger than you. So
okay,
I was raised.
Somebody said Johnson. I know the Johnson. They live up on the hill.
Not them Johnson.
Not them Johnson. The Johnson that live below.
So you know, you got to kill your flesh daily, and this is something me and Rex talk about all the time. You will have a daily battle with your flesh, right? And then I don't just mean this from a lustful aspect. We are always at war. The Bible says there's a war between the spirit and the flesh. So whatever those things are from your human aspect that put you out of line with God, you have to kill them every single day when they pop up. It doesn't matter what those things are. So that way, the more you fight them, the more that you kill them, the less power that they have. Then the last thing you got to do is, as you're breaking free, or when you start to get free, you need to tell your story. And the reason why you need to tell your story is because shame and quietness in the dark is where the devil can prosper. That's where he can operate. When you bring light to the things that you've gone through, it don't have power over you the same
Exactly.
way. And also, when you tell your story, you free other men. I was in the barbershop a month or two ago, and I had the conversation with my barber. We were talking about something that was going on in the world, and he had a perspective about it that I challenged him on. And he was just like, well, I don't know why people go through this particular thing. And I told him, I said, well, bro, I've been in that situation before, and I didn't tell nobody about it. He was like, for real? I was like, yeah. And I told him my story. Lo and behold, he comes out and he starts telling. He's like, well, now that you mentioned it, you told me your secret. I guess I could tell you mine. I've been in the same situation like that too. This is what happened to me. It started a whole difference in his life to where he realized that he was living out of his trauma. But because I opened up about mine to him, it freed him to say, I don't have to be ashamed of this. Other people have gone through what I've gone through. Mac, you spoke about it. When you think you're going through it on your own and you're going through this battle alone, it is really hard for you to win. Right. But when you know I'm not alone, other people have gone through this and they've defeated it. I don't have to let the darkness cloud me. I can bring light to it, and it won't have the same power no more.
The other thing too, and somebody said, man, Rex used to do, Miles used to do this. They say, yeah, we know his story.
Yep.
So let me do this real quick because we have about 10 minutes left. Here are the 5 things that turn me off about a woman.
Yeah.
Number 1, a masculine woman. I'm not talking about just one that has to be in competition against a man. So we're not going to go into detail about that. A confrontational female. One that's always got to be confrontational, always got to be up in your face. An argumentative female. Somebody might say, well, this is saying, no. An argumentative female says, I tell people this all the time. In leadership, I don't have a problem with you asking me questions. I have a problem with you questioning me. There's a difference. You question my leadership, then that means you don't respect me. But if you have questions about my leadership, that means you're giving me an opportunity to explain my position on it.
That's good.
You may or may not like it, but don't question. The third one, I can't stand a loud woman. Every time you turn around, she just loud. Just loud. And go ahead. I wait. You want me to find out in the Greek?
Rolling, bro.
That's my dude. I always be cracking Mike up, and then I don't like a defiant woman, just because.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Come, let's go right. No, let's go left.
Right.
Yeah.
The one I hate is that. Where would you like to go to eat? I don't want to go to McDonald's. I didn't ask you where you didn't want to go. I asked you where did you want to go. Well, I don't want Burger King. Okay, we're gonna do this one more time. You want to go smash burger? No, just miss. So those are my 5 things I dislike. So y'all got 5 things y'all want to run through? Just name them.
I only got one thing to add That's a good list. My thing is that for me, I hate the woman. Well, I don't say I hate, but I would prefer that a woman to have her own identity and goals and purpose.
Right. That way she ain't sitting up in you 24/7.
Yeah.
Come on, people say, Pastor, you say most things that most folk won't say. But that's the truth of the matter, is right?
Yeah.
I want her to have friends. Tell me what we doing tonight. What we just did something last night. Well, you don't love me no more. Really?
Yeah. So that's my.
That's a good one. Good one. For me, I would say poor conflict management. That's one of my biggest.
Conflict management?
Poor conflict.
That's a good one,
management.
sir.
Yeah,
Wow.
Poor conflict management is one of my big pet peeves.
All right. Listen, you're listening to the Perfect Blend podcast. He did it. He did. Oh, you?
I didn't do mine.
Okay, do your 5 real quick.
I don't have 5, but I don't want a yes woman. If you supposed
Dang,
to
we
be,
need more. Why didn't you say that earlier? Because that's the whole topic by itself, brother.
it is, bro.
Man. Okay, go ahead. What's your next?
You know, being a cat that you have purpose, you got a lot going for you. I've come across, and like I said, I had a promiscuous past. I've come across plenty of women that will say and do anything just to get on your good side so they can have a piece of you, so they can be attached to your favor, right? There's a concept we don't talk about is when you have favor, the things that come with that. And, man, one thing that has always been a turnoff is when I can tell, like, bro, you would say yes to me if I said, you know how people say,
Walk like a dog on one foot.
yeah, for real. But you know how they say, what am I trying to say? You know, let that man lead you.
Y'all got no sense.
No, that's good. But for real, it's like, you know how people say, let that man lead you, like the man need to lead, right? But the thing is, if you driving passenger seat with me, you riding passenger seat with me, and I'm leading you to hell, you should not stay in that car.
Not at all. Mm-mm.
Or if you really believe in me, you know that I'm just misguided, you should be correcting me and letting me know, like, you're not on the right path right now.
Right.
Right? I can't have a yes woman around me, because what happens when my ego is too big? Right? What happens in those moments when my flesh is winning the battle? What happens in those moments when I'm not operating in my favor?
Got 5 minutes, man.
I got you. I'm about to close out.
Yeah,
I promise
man.
you. But what happens in those moments, man? If I don't have a woman on my side that can tell me, look, I need to shine a mirror on you as to who you say you are and who you being right now. Right? I need that. Because I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm not going to always be right. Wow. So you have to correct me. You have to tell me, like, this is not becoming of who you are. You need to course correct. Don't let a man drive you straight to hell.
Brother, you are way ahead of your time, because most men will not want a woman telling him what to do, because they're going to be like, you ain't trying to control me. But let me say this about a yes woman. There's a fine line between being a yes person and being argumentative or combative.
Absolutely.
So there's a different. What did you say, sir?
It's about how.
It's about how.
What
you can say anything to me you want to, but it's how you say it to
Yep.
me. And that's what, man, we got 4 minutes left. You listen to the Perfect Blend podcast. We're talking about what men need, what men want, and what men don't like in a woman. I don't know if we got to all 3 of those, did you? But I want to just say this. Love you, man. Appreciate you.
Likewise, brother. Thank
you very much. This brother drove all the way from Killeen, yeah, that's where the cows and stuff be behind the restaurants. And then his brother where you come from?
Pasadena
area. And, you know, again, this has been in my heart. And Hightower and I, when I first met him, we talked about doing these type of programs where we are just down to earth, real relationships, real issues, but what? Real solutions. And that's what we're all about. I want to say thank you. You guys have been awesome. Man, we didn't have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't have, and you know, most people say, well, man, why do you do 2 hours? This is why we do 2 hours. We're already done.
Yeah.
We're already done, and with 2 hours, and we could have gone another 2 hours. Because when you open up the yes woman, man, just like, come on, bro, you should have said that early on. And we could have done something we know we good. But again, I want to thank you guys for being transparent. I want to say this. The Leotis Hightower was the only one married on the stage. And so when I reached out to him, I asked him, I said, man, do you think your wife would have a problem with you being on? Because I know we were going to discuss some very sensitive things, man. And so I appreciate your transparency.
Thank you.
And, you know, and Big Mac, thank you for driving Killeen. This brother, I have admiration for him. His son was supposed to come with him, but his son decided to stay. But, man, this guy, you know, you can't tell me that black men don't father their kids, man. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, man.
And awesome. And then you already know how I feel about you, man. Even though you look like Kid and Play. But you missed one word. Instead of you saying riding right over here, your daddy forgot to tell you that's called riding shotgun.
Riding shotgun.
Riding shotgun. Listen, You tune in the Purpose Flynn broadcast. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say thank you for the people that's in the audience. We got a couple of, we got the peanut gallery over there, and thank you for coming. Hope y'all got something out of it. Good night. Share it with somebody. Peace out.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you for watching.
Woo.
That was awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
I had so many questions, but y'all didn't.
Ask
I-
her.
no, no,
Ask
I-
now.
Yeah, I couldn't see you. Come up here. Come up here.
Let's talk about it.
Record
We should have did that.
it.
We do.
Record the questions.
Trust me, we do.
You know how to record it?
I have more
Oh, here?
questions than I have
So
time.
we can record it.
I listened
No, no.
to what made me come across the street, because I was across the street listening, is that I hear a lot of misguided information. Because in order for you to know in order for us to produce what a man wants, first of all, it's your selection of woman. If you get 6 years into a relationship and you still having hurdles to cross, that's not till death do us part. That was dead to begin with. You're trying to create in someone something that has never ever been there. So you can't put a seed in spoiled ground and expect for good fruit to grow. You can be. I'm a very submissive wife. I adore marriage.
Yeah.
I adore it. I've been married since I was 21 years old. I'm 54.
Yeah.
Second marriage though. So I've always wanted to be in a relationship of strength. I want a man I can follow.
As does most women, but Robin, really.
You know, if you meet a woman and you say, hey, go make me a sandwich, and she go in there and make you a sandwich, you eating another nigga sandwich. When are y'all gonna start teaching us how to be designed for you? If you meet a woman and you automatically see that she's got all of these flaws that are not